Okay, so let me just share my presentation. And I'm going to be talking about some new features that showed up at WWDC 2024. And they did cover all the platforms. See what's going on. I'm going to do it in two parts because most of the interesting items are not involving Apple Intelligence. And Apple Intelligence hasn't actually been deployed yet, but we can talk about what you can expect when that does come. So we'll start here. Now, one of the really big things was the iPhone mirroring. People are actually very interested in this. And this allows you to have your iPhone in its idle mode and to control it from your Mac desktop. And I will show you how that is done. When you're running iPhone mirroring on your desktop, you will see a window like this one that shows you a representation of your iPhone screen, and everything on there works. You can click it, open it up. For example, you can see over here, I opened up the Carrot Weather application. And to close it, you simply click the little bar at the bottom. You can't swipe on the mirroring, but you just click the little bar and it's like you swiped. And you can do things. You can answer phone calls, you can look at the messages, you can send messages, whatever. Of course, a lot of that you could already do with by other means, such as Wi-Fi calling and so forth. But for a lot of people, it's convenient to be able to have all the apps on their phone available on their desktop. By the way, it's not there yet, but coming later, you will be able to drag apps to and from the iPhone and your desktop. Not sure that's going to work. That'll be later this year. You also get to customize your iPhone screens. It is now easier for you to open up areas to have people hate the fact that their wallpaper is always obscured by a rigid arrangement of the icons. Well, now you can arrange them any way you like. In the control center, it now groups controls. So when you open Control Center, you'll see one set of controls. Then you have to swipe and you'll see another set and so on that have been logically grouped together. You can tint the screen. There's a new dark mode. Developers themselves for their own apps can add controls to the Control Center. You can lock an app so that if you hand your phone to someone else, they cannot activate that app. Unless you want to use your password and open it for them. And you can also hide apps in a hidden folder. You can also choose which contacts a given app can see. Those apps are often saying, well, can I use your contacts? And you can say, well, you can use this group, but not that group. Messages. Well, to me, the big thing is that you can now do messages via satellite. This works automatically. If you happen to go into a region where there's no Wi-Fi and there's no cellular, automatically it will offer to send messages via satellite. And previously you could do emergency messages. Now you can do any kind of message. No restrictions. The first 2 years for this service are free. After that, your service provider, such as AT&T or Verizon, will offer you a subscription for the service, which I believe is not going to be very expensive. It also supports SMS messages, so you're not restricted to sending satellite messages to just iPhones. You can send them to an Android user or some other kind of vanilla phone that does SMS. Pretty
So
big
that
thing,
would,
I think.
so that wouldn't be a service that Apple is selling, a subscription? Why would it go through the carrier?
Well, because the carrier owns the satellites. They're the ones that sell satellite services.
I thought the
Apple,
satellites were Elon Musk's company.
yeah, well, not Musk, not Starlink, but
It's not Starlink, okay.
yeah, satellite services up there, they're by AT&T and, the other vendors. You can buy separate satellite phones that are actually fairly inexpensive and get services with that. But this basically is building the message part of that right into your iPhone. Okay, then we have tapbacks enhancements so that you can send emoji and stickers, uh, with a single tap back to a person in reply to a message. And they have a scheduled for sending messages later, so you can pose them and say, okay, send that in the morning or something like that. And there's better text formatting. It is now available in messages. Okay, maps. This is really great because maps will now show you hiking trails. And for those of you who like to go into the wilderness and take such trails, that's really great. You also have a topographic display, which I'll show you. And they are including special maps for all the national parks. Now, over there on the right side of my display, you can see that I put up a display from a watch. And that shows you the type of topographical display they would have. But you need to understand this is not available everywhere. They'll be adding more and more maps that will have it. Just simply won't automatically show up. It will be at particular areas that they've chosen to provide such a topographical map. Incidentally, you can make these maps offline. You can download them so that if you don't have a Wi-Fi connection, it is still there on your phone, ready to be used. That's going to be very, very useful. You can see here on this screen, showing you one of the trails in Yosemite Valley. And you can see that I can choose a little pop-up to download the map. And then I have indication of the area that you can download and keep on your phone. Well, and here's another little representation of what you can see on the watch face. This is actually when I took off my own watch face, saving the image. See, I'm not sure exactly what I saved here. I think it's from Yosemite. I think it's out right down in the Yosemite Valley. But the idea is that on your watch, you can open up maps, hit the location button, and if you have the offline map saved, it will pop up, show you what trail you're near, what road you're near, and maybe save your life. So there you go. Okay, the wallet. Well, the wallet has a new feature for direct cash transfer, person to person. Basically, you open your wallet, choose cash, they open their wallet, you tap your phone to theirs, and the fixed amount that you designated goes over to them. And people have really wanted this. They wanted to do person-to-person transactions, not going through their bank, just using the cash that's been saved on their phone. And you can now do this.
Robert, excuse me for interrupting. How is this different than what you can already do with Apple Cash? Because I
Apple
could,
Cash goes to a point of sales, such as someone set up Square or set up something like that.
no, I can send cash to Charles. Charles can send cash to me.
By a
I can
tap,
send, huh?
by a tap.
Oh, by a tap. That's the difference. It's just a tap, just tap.
Yeah.
You don't have
Okay.
to go through
Yeah.
I
messages.
don't have to
So,
go through messages anymore. That's what's different.
So if you're buying something that you don't have any record on, you just tap their phone and they get the money and you get the goods.
Interesting. All right. Okay.
Okay. Um, Journal. You know, I don't really use Journal. They really encourage people to use it, but I don't use it. But if you're the kind of person that has the discipline to write a daily journal, you can now get statistics. It will tell you how many words you've written, how many entries you had. You know, it will pull out calendar events for you, that kind of thing. And I don't know, does anyone out there use Journal? Anybody? Yeah, maybe we should take a closer look at it someday. But
Well, I use day one, not every day, but the Apple one didn't seem useful because it's just iOS, and that's not where I want to be doing my writing. But have they come out with a Mac version that syncs with it?
no, they haven't.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to happen. Okay, now in photos, we have some new organization design. In particular, things like filtering out screenshots. Pets have been added to people. So since there's a lot of us out there that care more for their pets than people, you have that now. You have collages, and you can share collections and collages with one tap. And it does a feature photo kind of thing too. So, you know, a few enhancements here that make photos a little bit more interesting to use. Okay, the tiling. Well, to tell you the truth, I've tried this. It's really not there yet in the betas. Oh, did I mention I am running all the betas? So that's why I have access to some of this stuff. The idea is when you drag a window to one side and let it go quick enough, it will tile it for you to that edge. Problem is that if you're kind of slow, instead of putting it on tiling to an edge, it's going to put you onto a different desktop because you still have the multiple desktop feature. You can use option drag. That seems to work fairly well. And, you know, some people are going to like it. I'm just not so sure myself, but you just basically start dragging your windows over, tile them one by one, and get them neatly arrayed. So that is a feature that's available. I think I'm talking too fast. I'm going to get done here before we way through. All right, we mentioned the new passwords app, which replaces the old keychain. And this synchronizes over iCloud to all your devices. That includes iCloud on Windows. So, you know, if you have a PC and have iCloud on Windows, you can use passwords over there. Now, as was mentioned, the other managers, such as 1Password, do other things besides just the passwords. In fact, maybe I should bring that up and quickly share it with you. I just unlocked it with my watch. I'm going to momentarily stop screen sharing and switch to the passwords one. Okay, there's the password app now. And you can see that it holds pass keys, which are the private key that is stored, one key for every website you might visit. And they hold a public key for you. It holds your codes, your Wi-Fi, security passwords, and has a folder for ones you deleted. It will detect such things as reused passwords and compromised passwords and things of that nature.
So, boy, dumb question. It said there was can you put it back up for just a second? I had a question about one of the things that was there.
Mhm.
It says security with a red exclamation point and says 323. What does that mean?
That means I had 323 items that they feel I really should check out and fix up. Mostly duplicated passwords or compromised websites, things of that nature.
Okay. And is Apple using the have I been pwned? I mean, might that be the have I been pwned thing or no, not yet?
Oh, I don't know what they use to determine that. I would not be surprised if it's one of those monitoring websites.
Yeah, because that
Okay.
seems to be the one that gets the best reviews
Yeah.
of the security stuff that I've followed anyway. Okay, all
Yeah.
right, thank you. I just
So that would be similar to the 1Password Watchtower feature, I think it's called.
Yes,
yeah.
that would be.
Well, I have a question about this. So so my problem with the keychain has been that even though my device passcode is simpler than my Mac device password is simpler than my 1Password, which is a much longer password. So I've never been comfortable with using that to secure all my whole galaxy of passwords. Is this allowing you to use a secure master password that's other than your device password?
No, it does use your user password on your Mac.
Well,
And open it.
keychain, you could set up on using the old keychain, you could set up a longer password. You didn't have to use your admin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm almost positive. Yeah, Charles is nodding his head, yes, because I did know that. But I would assume, I can't imagine they would take that away with this. Not that it's there yet, since this is beta. But yeah, you could definitely do that with keychain.
Yeah. Well, on this occasion, for example, I opened it with my watch. I double clicked my watch to get it open.
Right.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the slideshow.
So that's not very secure because even though it's a biometric lock of a sort, it only when it's in contact with skin, it just needs whatever the passcode is, which is for me
That's correct.
six numbers.
Yeah. And so that is a good point, that it's not, it's something that if they get a hold of your device, you're in trouble. If they know your device and they can figure out one of your codes, they can get everything. But of course, that's always been true. So, that is a problem. Okay. There are Safari enhancements. For example, when you're streaming videos, and this mostly applies to laptops and iPads, it reduces the power from streaming videos, and that will prolong your battery life. So I can see that being of interest to people that take long flights and they want to watch a good movie or something like that. And this gives them that ability. Uh, it has better anti-JavaScript snooping features built in, much to the consternation of people like Google and YouTube who really want to snoop. And this basically blocks them. So I'm always getting messages from them that will say, you're blocking us, and it would be so much better if you didn't. And you can opt to do that, but they are increasing the privacy. You don't have it yet, but it will provide a highlighting of significant information as you browse. You can also get summaries of a web page. So if you're looking at a large web page, a lot of information, you can ask for a summary of the key points, and it will use AI to figure out what those key points are and give you that summary. Okay, now we're going to move on to Apple Intelligence. And you'll notice there's two brand new logos. There is a logo for Apple Intelligence in general, and a logo that's going to be the new Siri logo when Siri is fully AI enabled. So we'll be looking for those. Another way to tell is that when your Siri becomes AI enabled, when you invoke Siri on your iPhone, it's going to give a little glowing ring around the perimeter of the iPhone display to let you know that Siri is listening and is ready to respond to you. So Apple created a new brand, which they actually called Apple Intelligence. So it has the same initials as artificial intelligence, AI, which was a cute little trick. Apple continues to prefer not to use the words artificial intelligence. They've been working on this for a long time. You know, I'm told it's been years. And it's interesting because all the analysts were going around saying, Apple's not doing this, they're going to be in trouble, you know, they're being left behind. And yet,
Hey, Robert,
yeah,
I would disagree with you about that because there's a couple of analysts out there that have known all along that Apple was doing stuff. And I give you two names. Surprisingly, Gene Munster is one and Daniel Ives is another, because I follow what the analysts do. So I wouldn't say all the analysts, but a lot of the analysts and a lot of the press is where you're right.
okay, can I say all but two then?
Well, I wouldn't guarantee that because there's a couple of others that, you know, were at least on the fence. They said, you know, we're not so sure that Apple's going to be left behind on this. You know, they just were more in the middle. So just to be fair, anytime you say all of something,
It does seem to be a prevailing opinion, though.
it was a prevailing opinion. Yeah, agreed. So I'm just, maybe I'm being picky, but I listened to a really interesting podcast with those two, Gene Munster and Daniel Ives. And they really went through a lot of stuff about how well Apple's doing this. So anyway, so sorry for.
Oh, it's yeah. Anyway, they train their large language model in-house. And my understanding is they paid very good attention to making sure that what they were using was not going to be controversial, that they weren't going to be infringing on copyrights or anything of that nature. There is a thought that they had a large body of Siri requests and responses and interactions that they may have used, because you can opt in, you know, to letting use Siri to, quote, improve the service, unquote. And that may have been this. They used a mix of text and images that had captions, longer documents, and so forth. And they have fine-tuned it, they say, especially for the high-resolution images. Okay. One of the things is that when you train a model, that's computationally intensive. And that's where you hear all these things about, well, it's taking, you know, so much power. They're going to have to build whole nuclear plants for so large language models to be trained and so forth. But that's just for the training. Once you have it trained, the model itself is actually fairly manageable. And they've pared down one model to about 3 billion parameters. And that is easily loadable on iPhones and iPads and Macs. So they can make a local model that can probably do a very large portion of all the queries that someone might have. Apple is calling their model as the 4M model, and that stands for massively multimodal model. I guess it is love alliteration, but that's what it is. Of course, I should also reiterate that all of this, first off, has not been released yet. We're expecting it kind of toward the end of this year, after the release of the public's call. And also, you're going to have the more recent hardware to run it. You have to have an M series chip or an A series chip, A18. Otherwise, it's not going to run. Okay, now, this local model, it will know about what you have on your screen, your images, your text, the applications you're running. It will know about contacts that you've allowed it to know about. It will know about photos that you've allowed it to know about. And it will know about the spotlight stuff that you've allowed it to know about. My understanding is when it's released, is that it will explicitly ask you about having these permissions so that it will only use what you've told it you can use. Now the server will know the items that are sent along with the query, but on the Apple server, these will not be retained after processing. So the server will not have any historical information about you or your queries. And this is somewhat in contrast to what OpenAI does and what Anthropic does and what Meta does and so forth. Now the process will occur in 3 stages. When you first make your query, they'll do their best to answer it locally on your iPhone, for example. And by the way, maybe the HomePod. There's a belief that the HomePod will be equipped with an AI capability as well. Or maybe the HomePod will simply hand it off to your iPhone or something. It will remember your context and know about your current activity. They think that in most cases, it will be able to handle your query. Now, if it cannot, then it's passed to the Apple AI server in the cloud. Before it does that, it says, can I send this to the cloud? It will not do so until you explicitly tell it that you want that to take place. So again, it's protecting your privacy. When it does use the cloud, it's bidirectionally encrypted. And as I said before, the server will not retain your data. Now, suppose the model on the cloud is not able to answer your question. Perhaps it requires a deep web search or something like that. Then it might go to a third-party AI. Initially, they were saying that they were going to use ChatGPT with OpenAI, but they also said that other third-party vendors would be invited in. By that, I assume it would be like Claude from Anthropic or Meta. There was a bit of fluffle over the fact that apparently they found that OpenAI was not providing the security they expected OpenAI to contractually provide. So that may have thrown a bit of a wrench into that work. However, this third stage, it should happen very rarely. Especially since apparently the Apple Cloud AI is pretty good. At least so it is said.
So the number 2 there, what on the, yeah, is that OpenAI or is that Apple's own AI?
That's Apple's own private AI. Okay, it is not a third party at all. Okay, now the Apple private cloud compute, as I said, it's considerably larger than the local model. I don't know how big, but I'm going to assume orders of magnitude larger. Your data is never stored. It's used only for your request, and they have a verifiable privacy promise. So they're claiming that you're really well protected when you go through the Apple private cloud. And again, that only occurs if you've given it explicit permission on each occasion. Linda?
Yeah, I mean, this is all great and very Apple. But I'm assuming that if I wanted to, if I went, I want to compare answers and I'm going to ask Apple, whatever, give me a vacation plan in Rome or something. And then I could also use the Chat GPT app and ask the same question. And I might not have as much privacy, although since that's working through app, on a Mac, maybe I would have more privacy than if I was on a Windows machine. I don't know. I'm making this up. I'm just trying to
Bear in mind, if you want a second opinion, you have to go through the third party's own interface, its own app.
right.
You're not going to get the second opinion by, or at least I don't think you would, by asking the Apple Cloud server. Although I'm
Right.
reminded of that old joke about the doctor and the patient. The doctor tells the patient, you're going to die. The patient says to the doctor, I'd like a second opinion. And the doctor says, okay, you're ugly too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard that one before.
Yeah.
Um,
But if I
but-
wanted to, if for some reason I used Apple's AI and I went, this is good, but I want to get something a little more, I am still free using my Mac to go to ChatGPT either on the web or through this app, the ChatGPT on your desktop, right? Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's correct. And you can do the same with Claude, you can do the same with Meta.
But also, if you ask the same question 10 times to any large language model, it's going to give you 10 different answers because it's doing whatever it does behind the scenes to consider. I mean, it's creating a new answer each time, and you can also, at least in my experience with ChatGPT, you can pursue the conversation and dig in and say, yes, but what about this? Or tell me more about that. Or I'm not crazy about your answer there.
But
And-
you'll be able to pursue the conversation with the
Yeah.
Apple system too.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, you can always bypass Apple and go to some other system. You know,
So I've got a couple of questions. So one is, so on ChatGPT, either on the web or in the app, you can see, I know I subscribe, so I don't know if you get it if you have the free version. It can show you a transcript of all your previous conversations and everything that happened there. Is the Apple system going to be doing that as well?
I don't know. I would suspect it would. Now, the difference between a subscriber and a non-subscriber on ChatGPT these days is simply that the non-subscribers get throttled in the number of queries they can make, whereas the throttling is much looser for subscribers.
Well, it's
Mhm.
I thought the 4.0 was not available to non-subscribers. Am I wrong about that?
It is
4.0
available.
is not available, but 4.0 is. 4.0 is the later one. They call it, I think, it's
It's very
For
confusing.
4.0 with the letter O, small letter O, is different than 4.0.
Yeah, the small
Right.
letter stands for Omni, so simply say
Stands for
GPT
what?
for Omni. Omni,
Um,
ONMI.
Yeah.
So simply say for Omni, and you'll have the separation of the two.
that's confusing.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
all right. Um, Now, another important feature. The Apple AI Cloud Server runs on Apple Silicon. And I'm assuming that the M4 chip is what they have in mind, not NVIDIA. And that's going to have a lot of consequences. Because basically, NVIDIA has been living off the fact that they were the only word set that could be used for artificial intelligence. Now Apple has broken away. They don't need NVIDIA. There is this on and off rumor that Apple is building its own fab. Okay. Don't know. Okay. In any event, they have promised that by 2025, all of the Apple silicon will be made by USA-based TSMC fab. And no longer shipped from Taiwan, it will be made right here. Given the uncertainty of Taiwan's future, that's an important fact. recently, I've forgotten his name, but the TSMC CEO commented that, moving TSMC in total to a different country was impossible. It could never happen. But I suppose if the fab is based here and Taiwan is taken over, then some sort of arrangement might be made. Maybe Apple could pay off China and just take over the fab, or something else. I don't think we'd go to war over it, but somehow we could retain that fab here.
There is evidently a way to stop the fab's operation in Taiwan if Taiwan is attacked, to just shut it down. I don't know. I'm not, this is not accurate, but there were some saying that they would just blow it up. They're not going to blow it up, but there was some way to somehow sabotage.
I'm sure what they meant is they would simply tell the computer over the network to go into idle. But that's a very temporary kind of stoppage.
Well, it was supposed to be a non-temporary thing, from what I've heard, and I'll, if I run across some articles, I'll pass it on.
Well, maybe they would delete the files or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But,
There is some backup plan, so I'm told. Okay.
Okay, what you can expect. Well, you can expect Siri to become much brighter. You can expect it to have a better understanding of what you want, and you should expect it to do complex actions. It could actually be the level that you can say, give me tickets to this show, and it actually is able to go online and get you the tickets and set everything up for you. Call an Uber and everything else, who knows? There will be writing tools to be across Mail, Notes, Safari, and so on. My impression is the writing tools will be a lot like what Grammarly provides you. That it can do summaries, it can punch up text, you can ask it to change the tone of the text, that kind of thing. So I expect to see that. You'll have the image tools that I think will be a lot like Adobe's Firefly. They're creating and editing photos. One thing it doesn't seem to do is photorealistic. It does sketch, illustration, animation. But it will be built into a number of applications. So if you're doing messages, you can say, oh, insert a sketch here of this or that, and it will do it for you. I've also heard rumors that you can give Keynote an outline of the presentation, and it will simply generate all the slides for you, just from your outline. Also, Spotlight does a pretty good job of finding stuff for you. Well, with the new AI, supposedly you can ask it to say, I need to know everything I have on a given topic. And it will check everything you got. And it will come back with a summary of the information that you have available. So that should be very intriguing. Okay. So I open this for discussion time. We've already done quite a bit, but what do people like to talk about? Oh, and by the way, if you want, I can open apps and share them so you can see what is currently available. Of course, I've already done that. You've seen passwords.
So I asked ChatGPT to tell me about the difference between versions 4.0 and 4.0. And if I can screen share, I got to show you what its answer was. It was pretty.
Stop. Yeah. I can stop my screen share, and you can go ahead if you want.
I don't know. Can you see this?
Yep.
It says it's never heard of 4.40. Says there must be some typographical error.
Well, that's amusing because we all know that OpenAI does not keep up to date on its, scanning of the web and other information.
So this is, and as you see right here, it knows about it right here. So I wonder if GPT-4 will, let me actually ask that same query to ChatGPT 4.0 and see whether it has a better answer. Oops. Yeah, it seems to have a better seems to know something about it here. Sort of.
Yeah, it just figures.
No, not really. It's saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Might be a typo or mislabeling anyway. Go figure.
Mhm. You might try asking it about Apple 4M and see what it says.
Okay, I can do that.
It should draw a total blank.
Searching. No, it does know about it. Where did it go here? There's that window. I have too much stuff open here. Oh, here it is. Nope, that's not it. Try once more. Oh, here it is.
Oh, I say multimodal mask modeling. I didn't say it right. But yeah.
Searched 5 sites, it says. That's interesting because in the past it just looked into, it didn't actually go out and search sites, did it?
Mhm.
It
So
just,
basically, it's probably giving you the same information that Google search would have.
right. So I wonder if the fact that the cloud won't retain any information, will that mean slower results?
It basically means that it's not going to be able to rely on history. So, right now with OpenAI, I can give it a little mini bio about myself, and it will tailor the answers it gives me based upon the information from that bio. So, for example, it knows I'm a physicist, so it gives me a little bit different answer, I think, about some things than it would for other people. And I have tried that in the past, and it does seem to kind of kick it up. But obviously, your local Apple model can know about you, but the cloud one will not.
So what do you use for a login for OpenAI? Do you use your Google account, or did you set up a separate email based
I use
login?
my Google account.
I do too. Do you think that creates any kind of a privacy issue, or perhaps it then looks at your Gmail to know something about what you're interested in and how to come
Oh,
to your answers?
well, when you log in with Google, all it's doing is exchanging a public-private key with the other website or application. It's not, I know that you can give some applications access to some of your Google stuff. It will say, hey, this application is asking for these things. Do you want to give it that access? and you can say so. But for authentication purposes, if you're just authenticating, it's not doing that.
Okay.
It's simply using the Google authentication server to verify your identity, actually to verify your username with the other site.
I have one more question, which is, with this coming, do you have any thoughts about how much memory we're going to want on our iPhone Pro 16s?
Well, no. Um,
Would we be fools not to get a terabyte? I guess is what I'm asking.
I have a feeling that it's going to have to be something like that. The model itself is the 3 billion parameters. So, I don't know how much of a word space a parameter takes up. And I'm going to guess 10 bytes at least. So, we're already looking at 30 gigs for that. So, yeah, I think you're going to need a bit of space. A terabyte might be just about right. I'm sure we'll learn more as we get further into the fall.
Quick question, Robert. When they talk about needing more needing more memory, are they referring to RAM or storage, SSD?
Well, on your iPhone, it's one and the same.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can have virtual memory, but for something like if you need a lot of speed, certainly having it in RAM is going to be a lot more productive than paging around on a SSD. So I don't know if I just haven't really heard anything specifically about whether their storage needs. I mean,
Okay.
technically, if an older phone had a ton of storage on it, then that should technically be able to work. Where like a 15 having like the maximum amount of SSD, but they're not saying that. I think they're just saying that it's going to require you know more memory. So I'm just curious. Just
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
Differentiate between the behavior on a desktop computer and the behavior on an iOS device. Desktop computer, you have RAM and then you have storage. And the model is going to be in your storage, which could be hard disk, it could be SSD, over on your iOS device, the working memory and your storage, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, Charles, because this is what I always assumed, is the same memory.
Not
So,
quite on that. They do have dedicated active RAM to deal with that stuff, which these days tends to be like 4 to 6 gigs of memory space. And then the storage is unified between the main storage and the graphics. Sorry, I'm getting that reversed. The main memory and the graphics memory are a shared space, but the storage, the SSD, is a separate piece.
okay.
So my expectation on this is that since I haven't heard any rumors of any limitations by config, either by RAM config or storage config, that every model of these that is supported in the chips, like the M's and the A17 and the like, will be able to handle that on a RAM basis and on a storage basis, which I think will mean that they've got a very streamlined, very efficient model that specifically works dedicated with the machine learning cores within those things. They've all listed the chip, the A chip and the M chip, as being the limitation rather than any sort of RAM size or storage space.
Good. So anything else we'd like to get into?
Are there going to be M chips for iPhones the way there are for iPads, or are they always, or is A series chips, just what iPhones are.
Highly unlikely. A chips are going to remain, I think, on the phone simply on the basis of power and size, possibly on cost as well. The fact that they are able to put the same chip into an iPad as into a desktop or laptop Mac is actually a rather stunning achievement.
Okay, so we're coming up on 8:15.
Really interesting presentation, thanks.
Well, so I'm going to stop the recording and turn it back over to Linda.